Hello, my name is Cynthia Shelley Lewis, and I'm the Director of Inclusive Learning at Fort McMurray Public School Division. I'm here today with our team to introduce our story of practice about what our mental health project has been, and its focus has surrounded executive function skill development as well as emotional regulation. We took a particular look at students with diverse learning needs in order to try and partner with our community agencies in order to improve the mental health of this demographic of students. Next slide, please. First, I'd like to ask Melanie to introduce herself for a moment here. Melanie, if you wouldn't mind.
Hi there, my name is Melanie Fraser. I am the Supervisor of Mental Health for Fort McMurray Public School Division, and my role in this project was to be able to bring a mental health lens to the full pieces of everything we need to do and to just be able to have a different insight from a school lens and a mental health lens.
Thank you. Um, we came together as a team, myself and Melanie and Robin Kusler, who is our executive function support teacher, who is a result of this pilot project. We were able to fund that role for her. In addition to that, in working with Valerie Dick, who is the Director of Inclusive Education with Fort McMurray Catholic Schools, we were able to also fund a position to help support the implementation of this project. And so Sherry Bennett is the mental health worker that was hired to help with implementation. And you'll hear from both Sherry and Robin later in this presentation. Valerie was not able to join us today, but I wanted to make sure to let everybody know of the wonderful collaboration that we have between the two divisions. In fact, it goes far beyond this pilot project, but we were able to come together quite quickly in order to identify the areas of need that we each had. So we are in northeastern Alberta in the regional municipality of Wood Buffalo, and between the two school divisions, we service approximately 13,500 students across 29 schools. Fort McMurray itself has a relatively young population, but it's very culturally diverse. It's actually the most culturally diverse community in all of Canada, where we have more than 60 languages spoken by our families within our schools. Um, we are more diverse than the Greater Toronto Area, in fact, per capita. So it is significant. Our enrollment has grown by 27% in the past year alone. And we have special circumstances, I would say, as a result of the compounding trauma of all of the events that have happened within our community over the last several years. Many of you will be aware of the 2016 wildfire where the whole city was evacuated. Since then, COVID happened and we're living through the aftermath of the impacts of the pandemic. But during the pandemic, we also experienced a 1 in 100 years flood in our area, which impacted the whole downtown core, impacted some of our schools directly. And we were on a boil water advisory for a while. So these little pieces continue to compound the window of tolerance for our families and our teachers. And of course, just as recent as last week, 1 week ago in May 2024, the whole city was on fire alert again. And there was a portion of the city that was evacuated due to another wildfire. So we just continue to have complex trauma over and over and over. So it's important for us to get to the core of how to help improve mental health of our students and families in our community. So this is how we did it. Our division has two main priorities, and it's about promoting growth and success for all students, as well as maintaining safe and caring learning environments for all. And we identified that mental health and dysregulation is at the core of that. Our rates for dysregulation and mental health markers, they're on track to be higher than the 23-20 in this school year, the current school year that's ending in 2024, than that of the whole COVID pandemic. Students with complex needs have increased by 50% in the past 2 years within our schools. So things are just really, really starting to balloon. So we really feel that it's important to get to the core and we need to reach all of our stakeholders in that whole process. What I would like to do now is I would invite our partner groups to join us to introduce themselves. So first I would like to invite Paula and Tina from the Autism Society of the Regional Municipality of Wood Buffalo. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Paula. I am the Program Director at the Autism Society of the Regional Municipality of Wood Buffalo, and Tina Delaney is also here with me today. She's our Executive Director. Tina and I are both founding members of the organization, which started in our region in 2017, following the first wildfire. We are the only organization in our region that offers direct support to neurodiverse individuals and families, and we have a number of programs that we run in our community. During this collaboration pilot mental health project, we provided training to 16 of our support staff with a regulated classroom training to ensure consistency between all of the agencies, that we were all doing the same thing to support our neurodiverse youth in the community. We also focused specifically on some executive functioning skills through a variety of activities in our everyday programming. We focused on emotional control activities, cognitive flexibility, and planning and prioritizing. The programs that we implemented these executive function skills into were our Friday Friends program, which is adapted from the Peers Program for Enrichment of Relational Skills program. This program is offered twice a year, fall and spring, and youth and children aged 10 to 14 completed this program, which focused on increasing their social skills as well as emotional and regulation skills. And an ongoing program that we have is our social respite program. And during that program in the last year, we had over 2,000 hours of programming for over 51 children. And in that program, we also worked on those social skills and our executive functioning skills and our regulation skills as our focus. And I will hand over to Jody from Canadian Mental Health Association for the next slide.
Thanks, Paula. So my name's Jody. I'm with the Canadian Mental Health Association. I'm a mental health coordinator along with Krista Anthony. So our focus with this project was mainly on the caregivers in the community. And when I say caregivers, that's it's teachers, it's counselors, it's EAs, it's parents. Because as we know, adult dysregulation significantly impacts the youth and children that they support as well. So we started off, we took the regulated classroom training, which was fabulous. And then with those skills, we were able to pass them on to caregivers in the community as well. So in addition to that, we also offered, or our focus was on trauma-informed care, connection opportunities, self-compassion. So this helped caregivers understand maybe the reasons why they were dysregulated. And once you know the why, then you can move into coping skills on how to learn self-regulation. So we found that extremely helpful. We also did some one-on-one. So if someone was feeling extremely overwhelmed, they could come in, talk to us, and then, we talk through it and then focus on some regulation skills. So if we can support the caregivers, then they can properly support the youth and children that they care for. And we were able to serve over 400 and I think 85 caregivers in the community. So that's a significant number. So we found a lot of success just being able to support the caregivers, and then hopefully they can go on and support the youth that they support. So thank you. I'll pass it back to Cynthia.
Thank you, Jody. So how the next steps came to be, Valerie and I came together and we talked about what would be the demographic of students that we're trying to reach. So we identified that there was a gap in mental health support for students with neurodiverse learning needs, particularly students that have been diagnosed on the autism spectrum disorder, and as well as other neurodiverse complexities such as ADHD, among others. And between our two divisions, we identified that with these diagnoses that we were aware of, we would be able to reach 550 students at least. Not to mention that the things that we had in mind were universally available to help support all students, because everybody can improve their executive function skill enhancement, always, even adults. We also noticed that students are more dysregulated than they ever have been, given our local data. And, the neurodiverse student population is particularly socially a vulnerable group of students that were experiencing a high risk of anxiety, depression, and mental illness as well, even before the onset of COVID. We had been previously, our division had been working with a lady by the name of Emily Reed Daniels, who is the author and co-founder of the Regulated Classroom Framework. And it's a foundation for adults to be able to identify and recognize within their own nervous system using polyvagal theory, using the work of Dr. Porges, all of these pieces, science-based, data-driven, talking about how adults need to identify their own regulation and their own dysregulation in order to try and understand how to help students co-regulate. Self-regulation doesn't happen before you help to co-regulate children. Once that takes place, we were then able to dive in and help support with executive function skill development that could then take place under a regulated classroom environment. So we brought in our wonderful community partners, as they've introduced themselves already, with the Autism Society as well as Canadian Mental Health Association. And we agreed that this was a benefit that we could all work together and bring out even to wider reaches of adults and to the rural communities as well. Then we went on to hire specific roles. So that's how the role of Robin and Sherry came to be. We had one teacher or support worker within each division be able to take lead and help with professional development for our teachers and staff, as well as to provide supports for families. And so this presentation will show you some of the examples under which these ladies have been able to help us bring this project into fruition. So I'll hand it over to you ladies. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sherry Bennett. I'm the district mental health worker for the Catholic School Board. And so how did Robin and I kind of begin? In the beginning, we planned for the initiation of executive functioning programming. The 4 organizations agreed to create an infographic depicting the importance of the intended support. This would fall under the LQS 3, embodying visionary leadership, as we collaborated with other leaders to address challenges and priorities.
Hi, I'm Robin Kusler, and I'm the Executive Function Support Teacher. In addition to the creation of the infographic, staff from the 4 organizations were trained in the regulated classroom and were deemed trainers upon completion of the training. This promotes innovation, positive change, and fostering a commitment to continuous improvement. To ensure we progress toward achieving the goals laid out in our mental health grant, we created a pre-assessment, post-assessment, and referral to gather appropriate data relating to executive functioning skills and mental health in order to plan for student success.
After determining the needs within the 4 organizations, we began to build the capacity of staff by providing strategies to help respond to the complex needs of their students. This support was provided through observations, universal support, small group work, and one-to-one support. We utilized the regulated classroom training and executive functioning resources to show staff how to implement strategies within different learning environments.
Teachers also received extensive executive functioning support plans, focusing on strategies that support the development of these skills and improvement in mental health. Teachers, educational assistants, administration, and counselors had the opportunity to attend professional development, focusing on executive functioning skills, mental health, and emotional regulation.
Fort McMurray Public Schools and Fort McMurray Catholic Schools work closely with the Autism Society of the RMWB and the Canadian Mental Health Association of Wood Buffalo to plan and provide 2 interactive parent sessions focusing on executive functioning skills and co-regulation. Parents received a gift bag with ready-to-use resources and strategy cards to support their child's development. Parents also had the opportunity to receive quality information during parent-teacher interviews, early learning open houses, and junior high open houses.
The 4 organizations ensured that staff and the community had access to resources and professional expertise to help meet their professional responsibilities as outlined in SLQS 4, Leading Learning. Staff and parents were provided monthly newsletters that highlighted an executive functioning skill by providing examples of what challenges could look like and how to support growth in the area. Staff also had access to an executive functioning website with an abundance of resources and strategies to support the professional learning.
So at the end of our first year, in line with SLQS 3, Visionary Leadership, the 4 organizations began to evaluate successes and challenges that occurred during the first school year. We reviewed the pre and post assessment data to help guide our decision making for the future. We are in the process of planning and developing strategies to support staff in their professional growth.
We have seen many successes over this school year. As a team, we were able to determine the top 3 executive function weaknesses, giving us the ability to support students, staff, and parents by providing strategies to strengthen these skills. There has been an increase with involvement from staff as they began implementing strategies and providing support in these areas. Many parents were actively involved and interested in learning more about executive functioning skills and mental health. While working with students, they expressed gratitude for being patient, acknowledging their emotions, and supporting their development.
So what are our next steps? As we move forward, we will take into consideration the top 3 areas of growth while planning for the next school year. Professional development and parent sessions will be focused on these areas by giving an in-depth overview of the executive functioning skills and how to support the development of these skills. We are also planning to increase access to universal and small group support for referred students within the divisions. Fort McMurray Public Schools, Catholic Schools, the Autism Society of the RMWB, and the Canadian Mental Health Association of Wood Buffalo will continue to collaborate and provide meaningful instruction, resources, and supports across the 4 organizations. We'd like to take a moment to thank you for your time and that you viewed our presentation, and we hope that it's been beneficial to your professional learning.